Today we have assembled here to think about, to ruminate over the life, teachings and the personality of Shri Ma Sharada Devi. When we think about Shri Ma Sharada Devi, the first thing that actually comes to my mind is how difficult it is to understand, to recognize an incarnation of God. A little while ago, Swami Suviranji Maharaj was telling to me about this very difficulty. It has always been a very challenging task for people to understand the Leela of an incarnation. If we have a little bit of eligibility, anybody of us, we may be successful in understanding the central point of Vedanta. But when it comes to understanding the Leela of an incarnation, it becomes really very difficult. We all know in the past ages, when Bhagavan came in the form of Lord Ram, how many people around Ram could understand that it is Sakshat Bhagavan himself who has come down in the form of Lord Rama. It is said that just 12 rishis could, truly speaking, recognize who Lord Ram was. How many in Gokul and Brija could recognize who this baby Krishna was? Very few. In fact, everybody was thinking him to be Vasudev and Devaki Putra. When Jesus Christ came, how many people around him could understand that he was the Son of God? Very few. In fact, finally he was stamped to be a fraud and he was nailed to the cross. When Bhagavan came in the form of Sri Ramakrishna, again the same question. He was understood to be a mad Brahmin in Dakshineshwar. How many people during his lifetime could understand that he was Bhagavan himself in this human form? And in all these four cases which I have mentioned, you can note that in the case of Lord Ram, in the case of Lord Krishna, in the case of Jesus, and even in the case of Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, there was the display of spiritual splendor to varying degrees. And in spite of the display of spiritual splendor, people failed to understand who they were. Now, when we come to Shri Ma Sharada Devi, how much more this task becomes difficult, because here the Bhagavati has come down in a human form, and she has come down in such a way that she has completely concealed her Aishwarya. How is the common man going to understand what is her true identity? This is the biggest challenge when we read Shri Sharada Devi's life, because in the books we find she is portrayed as the incarnation of Divine Mother. But are we really capable to understand who she is just by reading a book? And we have justified reasons for that. I shall give you one example. If a person of Naren's caliber, if a person of Naren's eligibility, if he can doubt Sri Ramakrishna till the end of Sri Ramakrishna's life, Naren was a person who was seeing Ramakrishna day in and day out. He had seen Sri Ramakrishna's moment-to-moment samadhis, moment-to-moment bhavas. He had received the highest spiritual experiences just by the touch of Sri Ramakrishna's grace. In spite of that, Naren had the doubt whether Sri Ramakrishna is Bhagavan himself or not. Even during the fag end of Sri Ramakrishna's life, we all know, at Kashipur Garden House, when Sri Ramakrishna was lying on his deathbed, Naren had this doubt. In this moment, if Sri Ramakrishna says that he is an incarnation of God, I shall admit. And we all know that famous answer which came out of Sri Ramakrishna's mouth. And that allayed the doubt from Naren's mind for once and for all times. If this is the case with Naren, should we be very presumptuous to claim that we can understand Holy Mother Sri Sharda Devi, an instance where Bhagavati is coming, completely concealing her Aishwarya, leaving no room for us to understand what is her true identity. Now, how do we really understand who she is? We have, actually speaking, three sources of revelations. I believe that if these three sources of revelations were not available to us, it would have been impossible for us to, truly speaking, understand who Sri Sharda Devi is. Even the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, except Naren, even they would have failed to, truly speaking, identify and recognize who this so ordinary looking lady is. Now, what are the three sources that is available to us? The first one is the statements coming from Sri Ramakrishna's mouth. The second source that we have is Swami Vivekananda's remarks about Sri Ma. And the third source we have is Sri Ma's statement about herself. These are the three sources which I call three sources of revelations, which reveals the true nature of Divine Mother coming in the form of Ma Sharada. Without these three sources of revelations, it would have been impossible for any soul to, really speaking, understand what is the true nature of this person called Sri Ma Sharada Devi. Let us look into what Sri Ramakrishna has said about Ma Sharada. In one such gathering, as usual, where Sri Ramakrishna was talking to the devotees, in the course of his talk, it came out of his mouth when he was referring to Ma Sharada, and he said, "You see, she is Sharada, she is Saraswati, and she has come to impart knowledge. And this time she has come hiding her beauty." Sri Ramakrishna was referring to Sri Sharada's real nature, who she is. This time Bhagavati has come down hiding her beauty. Shankaracharya in his Annapurna Stotram describes Divine Mother as Saundarya Ratnakari, one who is the ocean of beauty. Now, one who is the ocean of Aishwarya and beauty, this time she has come completely concealing her Aishwarya and beauty. How are we to understand who she is unless a divine being like Sri Ramakrishna gives us a hint? She is Sharada, she is Saraswati, she has come down hiding her beauty. Another incident. Sri Ramakrishna has come to Kamarpukur from Dakshineshwar, and Sri Ma has come to Kamarpukur from Jairambati. This was a few years before Ma Sharada permanently shifted to Dakshineshwar. At that time, Ma Sharada must be around 13 or 14 years old. And there also, Sri Ramakrishna, as usual, he was talking to the devotees. And the interesting point of this meeting was Sri Ma Sharada was one of the audience. Sri Ramakrishna was completely lost in talking about God and spirituality and spiritual experiences. And people were listening to him enraptured. But Sri Sharada Devi was fast asleep. So seeing this, some of the ladies in the audience, they started commenting. They said, "You see how unfortunate this lady is. Her husband here is talking about God talking about all spiritual experiences, and she is fast asleep. How unfortunate. And they were about to wake her up. Just then Sri Ramakrishna came forward and said, no, don't wake her up. Don't wake her up. Is she asleep for no reason? Is she asleep for no reason? If she listens to all these talks, do you believe that she will remain here? She will unfurl her wings and simply fly away. Sri Ramakrishna was hinting at her true nature, who this lady called Sri Sharda Devi was. If she gets a hint about her true nature, she will simply unfurl her wings and she will disappear from this mortal plane. Sri Ramakrishna was saying, don't wake her up. Let she remain asleep. She has got a very important role to play in future. We all know Sri Ramakrishna had his nephew, Hriday. That is another incident. This Hriday had served Sri Ramakrishna for many years, very dedicatedly, and sometimes he was a source of problem also. And often he used to give some trouble to Sri Ramakrishna. Once it so happened that Sri Ramakrishna was seeing that Hriday was misbehaving with Ma. Seeing this, Sri Ramakrishna called him and warned him, you see, you can misbehave with me, but I warn you, the person who is inside this person, the being who resides in this person, if that person gets enraged, mind you, even Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh won't be able to save you. Beware, don't evoke her wrath. Don't evoke her wrath. Sri Ramakrishna was hinting at who Sri Sharda Devi was, the true nature of Sri Sharda Devi. How are we going to understand her true nature unless we have such revealing comments coming from Sri Ramakrishna? We all know that famous incident. After 12 long years of arduous sadhana, Sri Ramakrishna, on one fine day, on the Falaharani Kali Puja day, he offers at Dakshineshwar, he makes all the arrangements for the worship of the Divine Mother, and she calls Sri Sharda Devi and makes her sit on the asan and worships Sri Sharda Devi as Tripura Sundari Shodashi, with all the ritualistic paraphernalia and according to the scriptures. Very systematically, Sri Ramakrishna worships. Sri Ramakrishna, in and through this incident, he was telling us who Sri Ma Sharda Devi is. The another question is, can any ordinary woman be in a position to accept the offerings coming from Sakshat Bhagavan? Is it possible for any ordinary woman to accept the offerings coming from Lord himself? She has to be Bhagavati herself. Let me come to the second source, Swami Vivekananda. How did Swami Vivekananda look upon Shri Ma Sharda Devi? There are many statements. We can go on for hours together, but let me just take one or two instances. This great Swami Vivekananda has come back from America after having conquered the world with the message of Vedanta. He was the voice of India, the voice of Indian spirituality and philosophy, and with that he had conquered the whole world, and now he has come back in 1897. And now he's getting ready to, for the first time, to go and see Ma. Just imagine this scene, how it would look. Swamiji is again and again, he is going and taking his dip in the Ganga. Again and again, he is sprinkling the Ganga water on himself to ensure that he is pure enough to stand in the presence of this lady. That itself is an indicator. It's a sufficient indicator. Then Swamiji goes to Ma's presence, makes Sashtang Pranam to Ma, and sits at the feet of Shri Ma. And then Ma is simply in ecstasy. She is so full of joy seeing her Naren. Naren has come back. Thakur's Naren has come back after having conquered the world. After having fulfilled the mission of Sri Ramakrishna, that Naren has come back. She is so happy. And she is praising Naren to the skies. Oh Naren, only you could have done this. Only you could have done this. Who else could have done this? And she was praising Naren in this way for a long time. Naren was silently listening to this whole thing. Then when Ma stopped, Naren started expressing. Naren said, "Oh Ma, do I not know who has done this? Was it I who did all these things, or was it you? Was it I who did all these things, or was it you? By your mere wish, you can create hundreds and thousands of Vivekanandas. Sankalpa matrena, just by one sankalpa in her bosom, hundreds and thousands of Vivekanandas can be born." Naren was telling this to Ma, and Naren was hinting at Ma's true nature, who this lady Sri Sharda Devi is. Another incident. A young man, he comes to Swami Vivekananda to get initiated. And he requests Swamiji for initiation. So Swamiji takes him to the old shrine, and Swamiji goes into deep meditation. And after coming back from the meditation, Swamiji says, "You see, I am not your guru. You will get your initiation from somebody else who is several times more powerful than me." This is the first remark. You will be initiated by someone who is several times more powerful than me. So don't get dejected. Go back. You will have your initiation at the right time. So this person felt perhaps Swamiji is not interested in giving initiation. So in a dejected mood, he went back. Very soon, in a few days, he gets a dream experience. In that dream experience, he sees that one divinely looking woman comes and imparts him with a mantra. Next day again, that person comes back to Swamiji and tells this dream experience to Swamiji, and Swamiji is very happy. Swamiji says, "What else do you want? You want an initiation, you have got it. You have got the mantra, this is the ultimate thing. Go ahead and start your spiritual practices." Again, this person was not very happy with Swamiji's response. He said, because he didn't believe in dream experiences. So he said, "Swamiji, I don't believe in dream experiences. I want initiation from you." Swamiji again, this time very seriously said, "My boy, have faith in my words." Then Swamiji proceeded to say 3 or 4 very important things. Swamiji said, "You see, this divine woman whom you had seen in dream, very soon you will be seeing this woman in flesh and blood. And when you see her in flesh and blood, know that she is the incarnation of Bagala in the guise of Saraswati. She is very sweet and very soft to look at on the surface, but inwardly she is fierce and terrifying. Usually we all like to look upon Ma as a very sweet, very soft and gracious woman, but her true nature is different, which Swami Vivekananda was hinting at here." Again, that person didn't understand anything, so he went back. In a few days, it so happened that Providence made him land up in Jairambati, and he was standing in the presence of Ma. Ma welcomed him very affectionately, and there also a small drama took place. It's a very interesting thing. Just imagine, this man is standing in front of Sri Ma, and Ma is telling him, "My child, you have come. Today you ask of anything that you want, and it will be granted." Just imagine, Sakshat Bhagavati is saying this. Today you ask of anything and it will be granted. But the question is, how can this person understand that she is Sakshat Bhagavati herself? The mystery. It's a completely concealed case. She is a so ordinary looking woman. How are we ordinary people to understand that she is Bhagavati herself? That's the big challenge which this personality poses to our sensibilities and understanding. Anyway, so there, this person, he said, "Oh Ma, I don't understand what is good for me. So you give me whatever you think is conducive to my good and my well-being." So Ma said, "Okay, fine. Tomorrow morning after bathing, you come, you bring one fruit and bring some flowers and come at so and so time." So next day morning, that man came at that proper time, and Sri Ma initiated him with a mantra. The moment he got this mantra, this person was seeing that dream experience reenacted here in flesh and blood. That very mantra which he had got in dream, here Ma was giving it to him. And now he understood whom Swami Vivekananda was talking about. It was about this person that Swami Vivekananda had said that she is several times more powerful than me. First point. Second point, Swamiji says, she is the incarnation of Bhagala in the guise of Saraswati. And third point, Swamiji says, she is so soft and so sweet to look at on the surface, but inwardly she is fierce and terrified. This person was simply dumbfounded. Now we find that Sri Ramakrishna often talks about Ma as Saraswati, Saraswati, Saraswati. I don't know, in my knowledge at least, I have not come across anywhere Sri Ramakrishna referring to Ma as Bhagala. But Swamiji has gone one step ahead, and he has pointed out the Saraswati garb is only on the surface, but inwardly she is someone who is fierce and terrifying. She is the Bhagala who has come in the form of Saraswati. Now, unless we have such revealing remarks coming from divine beings like Vivekananda or Sri Ramakrishna, my question is it possible for ordinary people just by reading books to really gauge who this person is, whom we are talking about today? One more incident. Sharad Maharaj. We all know Sharad Maharaj was that day, a young man goes to Sharad Maharaj at the Udbodhan office, and Sharad Maharaj, that place where he used to sit and write down the Leela Prasanga, the magnum opus, at that place. This young man is going to Sharad Maharaj, and he comes with the same problem in the mind about who this lady is. So he comes and tells Sharad Maharaj, "Maharaj, we understand that Sri Ramakrishna is Bhagavan himself. But really speaking, I don't understand why people are standing in queue here to have the darshan of this lady. She is a person who doesn't even show her face to anybody. Always she is veiled. And we don't see anything special about her. In Sri Ramakrishna's case, we see a lot of Aishwarya displayed. So he says, really speaking, I don't understand why people are standing here, why people create so much of fuss about Sri Ma." So Sharad Maharaj said, "Do you really believe that Sri Ramakrishna is Bhagavan himself?" He said, Yes, I have no doubt about it." Then where is the problem? If he is the Bhagavan, then she has to be the Bhagavati. So again he says, no, I can understand about Sri Ramakrishna, but about Sri Ma it's very difficult. I can't really be convinced about that. Then Sharad Maharaj becomes a bit serious and he says, "You see," and in Bengali he says, "Thakur jodi Bhagavan hon, tale Ma ki ghoote kudunir mein." If Thakur is Bhagavan himself, then do you think Ma is the daughter of a woman who picks cow dung cakes and sells it in the market for livelihood? If Thakur is Bhagavan, Ma has to be Bhagavati. Sharad Maharaj was saying this. Shantanandji Maharaj, a very revered and respected monk of our order, an incident related to him. Shantanandji Maharaj was the disciple of Sri Ma, and he had very closely associated with Ma. So again, a newly joined brahmachari goes to Shantanandji Maharaj with the same problem. He comes and one day That was towards the fag end of Shantananji Maharaj's life. He was already very old, and he had several ailments, and so this Brahmachari Maharaj used to serve him very dedicatedly. So this Brahmachari Maharaj went and said, Maharaj, we understand that Thakur is Bhagavan himself. In Thakur's life we see so much of samadhi, so much of ecstasy, so much of bhavas, all these things we see. But in Sri Ma's life we don't find anything. I really don't understand who this Sri Ma is. And in this way he was making comparison between Thakur and Ma. Shantananji was listening to all this. And in the course of listening, actually what was happening was he was now beginning to get excited and animated. Slowly his face was turning red. When the brahmachari stopped, now Shantananji Maharaj literally burst on him. He said, you fool, you are such a petty-minded person. In Bengali he said, I have heard it from the right source. In Bengali he had said, Neech mana, eto neech buddhi tumara. You are such a petty-minded person, such a small-minded person. Do you think that Ma is an ordinary woman who would do sadhana for years together, and at the end of that sadhana, she will be having one moment of samadhi and she will be considering herself to be a blessed soul? Do you think Ma is such an ordinary woman? The samadhi, the bhavas, the ecstasies that you see in Sri Ramakrishna's life, do you know from where it is coming? It is coming by the grace of Sri Ma. Are Sri Ma is not the aspirer of samadhi, she is the person who gives samadhi. Now, unless we have such revelations coming, is it possible for we ordinary people to understand who Sri Ma is? When in this incident, when I think about this incident, I am often reminded about Shankaracharya's, the great Bhagwan Bhashyakara Shankaracharya. In his Saundarya Lahari, he has given a wonderful experiential utterance where he says, Shiva Shaktya Yukto Yadi Bhavati Shakta Prabhavitum. Shiva Shaktya Yukto, if Shiva having united with Shakti, if Shiva becomes capable of creation, Yadi Bhavati Shakta Prabhavitum, Nache Devam Devo Na Kushala Spanditumapi. In the absence of the grace coming from Shakti, Shiva is not even in a position to make the slightest move, the slightest spandana. Na kushala spanditumapi. One spandan also cannot take place. So without the grace coming from Sri Ma, all the sattvic vikar which we are seeing in Sri Ramakrishna, the moment-to-moment samadhis, the moment-to-moment bhavas, will it become possible without the grace of Shakti? That Shakti who has come in the form of Sri Ma. Again, I repeat the same problem. Unless we have these revelations coming from these great souls, where is the room for any ordinary person to understand what is the true nature of Sri Ma? It's impossible. Today we have accepted, it has become a tradition. Even I, for the first time when I read Sri Ma's life, I also felt that this is a totally blown up, exaggerated account of a saint's life. But it's not my fault. If Naren had the doubt about Sri Ramakrishna's true identity, then we also can have the benefit of this problem. Anyway, before I end, one more thing which comes to my mind, that is this Sri Ma who appears so soft and so beautiful and so gracious. Her another side is that, which would be a bit painful to the ears of the bhakta, because bhakta always wants to look at the benign side of the Divine Mother. The bhakta doesn't want to look at the terrific side. Actually speaking, it is this Divine Mother who is at the root of all the problems that we are suffering in this life. She is at the root of all the problems that we are having. And at the same time, she is the only solution that we have with us. We have no other alternative. We have no other alternative. Why I say this? That famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita, which says, Ishvara sarva bhutanam riddeshirjuna tishtati. Ishvara is residing in the hearts of every living being. Let us change this word from Ishvara for our convenience. Nobody has got the right to tamper with the words of Bhagavad Gita or the scriptures, but just for the sake of convenience, let us just put the word Jagannmata. Jagannmata sarva bhutanam riddeshirjuna tishtati. This Divine Mother is residing in the hearts of every person. And what is she doing? Brahmayan. She is making us go round and round and round. How? She has made us mount this machine of this body, and she is making us go round and round and round and round. She is the root of all the problems that we have. And the solution comes in the next verse. What is the solution? Tameva sharanam gaccha sarva bhavena bharata. Take refuge at her and her feet alone with your whole heart and soul. Tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsasi shashvatam. It is by her prasada that we are going to come out of this problem. So Divine Mother is such that first she creates problem and then she gives us the prasada of liberation. Very difficult situation. The same thing I find described by Swami Vivekananda. I shall just refer to that and I shall stop my talk. Swami Vivekananda in his Amba Stotram, it's also a wonderful stotra where Swamiji is actually expressing a common man's inability to understand what Divine Mother is. Katvam Shubhe. The first line starts, who are you, ma? Sukha Dukkha Haste. I'm not going into the details. I'm just taking the main parts. Katvam Sukha Dukkha Haste. Katvam Shubhe Shivakare Sukha Dukkha Haste. Sukha and Dukkha both are in your hands. Who are you, ma? And then the second line is beautiful. What is this ma busy doing? Ghurnitam bhavajalam prabalor mi bhangai. This Divine Mother, she is churning the water of existence, and she is making this water of existence break into mighty waves. She is first creating a tumult. She is creating an uproar. And then Swamiji is asking, Shantim vidhatum ihakim bahudham vibhagnam. Now are you busy trying to bring about some kind of a shanti into this situation? This is the Leela of Divine Mother. She first creates the commotion and then she comes in this form to show her compassion. Can ordinary human beings ever understand the Leela of Divine Mother? As I said in the beginning, we can understand Vedanta, but when it comes to understanding the Leela of an incarnation, and especially when it comes to Shakti part, it becomes very complicated and difficult. Again Swamiji says, Kwamba Shiva Kvagrunanan Mamahina Buddhi. Who are you, ma? Mamahina Buddhi. My buddhi is so small. How can I sing your praises? Kvagrunanan. How can I sing your praises with my this small buddhi? And so see, today we are all assembled here and we are trying to remember Holy Mother Shri Sharda Devi and we are trying to understand her, but the question is, with our small hina buddhi, how is it possible to understand who she is? And when we are trying to do that, Swamiji says it is like attempting to hold the Jagadhatri with our two puny hands. Daurbhyam vidhartumiha yami Jagat Vidhatrim. This Jagat Vidhatri, we are trying to hold her, the one who is the very support of this creation, one who is the creator, preserver and destroyer, that lady we are trying to hold with our two small hands. How can ordinary people do this? So towards the end he says, now how is this Divine Mother, Sri Ma Sharda Devi? It's a beautiful verse, a very inspiring and very touching verse. He says, what is that? How is this Divine Mother? Yama chiraya niyati ati dukkha margai. This Divine Mother has been leading us through several lives. She has been leading us through variegated paths. The variegated paths which sukha and dukkha, happiness and misery, laughter and tears. She has been holding our hands and she has been making us go through all these lives, several lives of experiences. Yama chiraya niyati ati dukkha margai rasithitai swakalitai lalitai vilase. And that is her vilasa. Just look at this thing. That is her vilasa, her sport. It's a game for her, and for us it's a life and death situation. That's a sport for her. So, what is the prayer? Final prayer? Same matim suvidhade satatam dharanyam. That Ma has been always enkindling, illuminating my buddhi in my this earthly life. Samba Shiva Mamagati Safale Faleva. That Ma is our only gati. Our only gati. Whether I become victorious or I become defeated. Whether I am successful or whether I am a failure, that Ma is the only gati that we have. Thank you so much.